Welcome back to the Without the Bank podcast. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it. Today we are going to talk about all things IBC. I mixed it up a little bit a lot of the times, and I like to talk about business, and I like to talk about money, and I like to talk about life insurance. But today we are going back to Nelson's book, Becoming Your Own Banker. He was the founder of the infinite banking concept. And so we are going to do another chapter study. And I love this one. And it just so happens to be perfect timing with what is going on in the economy right now. And Nelson did not agree with retirement. That was not something he worked until the day that he passed away. He was the night before he passed away. He was talking about the government. He was talking about finances, all that good stuff. And so he was not a proponent of retirement. And this chapter is going to tell you why. Interestingly enough, though, he says that on his birthday, I don't know what year or how old he was, but he said that he penned this down. I always find that word a little funny. He penned it down. Nelson passed away at 88. Social Security will fall, as have all socialist programs since time began. Before it falls, they will attempt to prop it up. The source of funds that they will use is the reserves of private pensions and other government-sanctioned schemes. Now, he said a year after he wrote this down, he already noticed that the government was trying to make some sort of an exception, right? Now, where are we at today? Look back to, let's say that Nelson wrote this down 20 years ago. Where are we at today? We have a serious problem with Social Security. All we ever do is try to prop it up. We'll have some there for you. We'll have some there for you. Where is that money coming from? So this notion that we would have Social Security and we would have pensions at the Social Security was meant to be a pension type thing. But that is when people died at 55, 60, 65 years old. A lot of the retirement stuff came from a gentleman named Bismarck, and he was in Germany. And this was in the 1890s. And he talked about retirement. Well, there's a couple of things we need to look at here. When we talk about retirement, back then, people did not live to be 100 years old. People didn't live to be 90 years old. So if we were going to give them Social Security, likely they would pass within a few short years of stopping if they quit working, right? So a few short years. Now we are living 30 years past retirement, and we are expecting to have enough money. So if we work from 20 to 65, we work 35 years and we expect to retire for 30 years. I don't know how that worked. That wasn't meant to be the option. You were supposed to be dead at 65 years old, right? Then he said, oh, we should have retirement. A lot of that is because we had all these boomers coming in to the workforce, and we needed to get them out. We needed to get the older people out so the boomers had some place to work. We had a replacement of workforce. Today, oh my gosh, there's not enough employees. It's absolutely crazy. We have boomers and I have listened to a lot of stuff because I genuinely want to know, where are people and why are they not working? Or do we just not have enough people? It's absolutely crazy. You can't go to a fast food restaurant. You can't go to a clothing store. You can't go to Walmart. You can't go to wherever. You cannot go and find enough employees. Everybody is upset because they have self-checkouts. Thank goodness they have self-checkouts because there's nobody working. We can't even find people to stock the shelves, and we're concerned about a checkout? There's nothing to buy if there's nothing on the shelf. I mean, we got to think about this. So what I've heard, which makes the most sense to me, is all of these boomers have left the workforce due to COVID. They all said, you know what? I don't need to deal with all this. I don't need to deal with the masks. I don't need to deal with all of this stuff to go with COVID. I don't want to risk getting sick. So I am going to just leave the workforce, which means if you've listened to my podcast with the demographer, Ken, you will know that there's not enough Gen Xers coming up to fill those spots because there's not enough of us. I'm a Gen Xer. There's not enough of us. Then you have the millennials who are just getting into the workforce. I don't know where these people are. This is my question. If we have all these millennials and there's more millennials than there were baby boomers, where are they? What are they doing? Nonetheless, we go back to this chapter review. People were supposed to move out of the workforce at 65. They're supposed to die by the time they're 68, 70 years old, and that's not happening. But we still think in our head that we should be retiring. And we need 30 years of retirement off of working 35 years. And we've worked 35, when we were working for 35 years, those 35 years we were raising kids, right? So now how are we going to be raising kids and saving enough money and then we put it in the stock market at risk? So let's see what Nelson has to say about the stock market. So he goes on to say, we put money into a plan that half of it is ours and the other half of it is a match, right? And we're going to give you a tax discount. Now, we need our half of the plan to prop yours, or we need half of your money to prop up our plan, meaning Social Security. So without reading all of it, he goes on to say that the 401k system and the IRA system is so large that could they, if they wanted to, could they confiscate that to pay Social Security? Because this is another thing he says that I absolutely love. It is like one of my favorite quotes from Nelson. When government creates a problem and then turns around and creates an exemption to the problem they created, aren't you just a little bit suspicious that you are being manipulated? Yeah, I am. I sure am. Absolutely 100%. If you gotta rewind that to listen to it again, do it. Because that is the best quote. Think about, and it doesn't matter if it's just a 401k system and Social Security. But let's think about this. They created Social Security. We now have a problem with Social Security. They come in the 80s and they create the 401k system. And then when we got back from the World War, we didn't know what we were going to do to compensate people because they put a salary freeze on. So employers could not increase people's salaries. And this is all in Nelson's book here. People could not increase salaries. So what did they do? Oh, we're going to give you health benefits. We're going to give you 401k matches, right? So we're going to incentivize you in other ways. And that's where all of this came from. Then we're going to tell you that you can retire at 65 years old. Really? Should you retire at 65? This is another thing that Nelson said that I absolutely love. He said, read the Bible carefully and you will find no such reference to, and so Moses retired and lived happily ever after. Nelson always said that. Where in the Bible does it talk about retirement? Retirement, the definition of retirement is to take something out of service. When we take someone out of service, what do? We put ourselves in a position where mentally we are not learning and physically we are not moving. How many people do you know that retire and at 65 years old, they just start sitting around doing nothing. Might go for a walk every day. They're not interacting with people. They sit and watch TV all day. They're not learning anything. They get all stressed out. We have one of my husband's friends. He retired. And there was a lot going on in the country, which is kind of always going on in the country. He absorbed the news all day long, died of a heart attack watching the rioting. He was so worked up about what was going on in the country. If we are going to retire and we are not going to be productive citizens, eventually what happens? We eventually start to lose mental strength, right? We just can't think. We don't want to think. We become a little bit lazy. Do we need to be that way? No. You can still retire and be active. You can still retire and do things. And I pay attention to old people a lot because I don't want to be that old person in a walker, and gosh, I hope I'm not. I don't want to be that old person in a walker barely getting around. I watch older people get out of vehicles and it takes them forever. Now, if you go anywhere with me, like the vehicles barely stop, doors open, I'm out, I'm in. Like, let's go, let's get done what we need to get done, let's go. I'm not here to lollygag around. And my husband, who I make fun of, he parks the vehicle, then he has to take a sip of his pop or whatever he's drinking or coffee. He's got to take a sip and then he's got to change his sunglasses into his regular glasses. Oh my gosh. I just sit there and wait. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I could have been in the store and occasionally we'll be out running errands together and I'll need to stop at like Walmart and get groceries. And I'm like, I'll just go in without you. It'll be faster. Because he's so slow. He just is never in a hurry. Oh, which is good. Which is good because it brings me down just a hair. But I'm in and out, man, especially when I go shopping because I hate it. So what happens when we retire? There's no reason to hurry to do anything. There's no reason to learn anything more. What do? We die, right? Because where's our purpose? We're supposed to have a purpose in life. Where is that? And so if the government created, let's go back to Nelson's book. If the government created Social Security, now they're pushing us all to the 401ks and IRA system. And then we're told, you guys, that if that system if you lose money, it's no big deal because you didn't actually ever have it. Oh my gosh. If I hear that one more time, oh, well, you know what, Mary Jo, I didn't lose money. I love this when people that love the stock market. Well, I didn't lose any money because I didn't actually have it. So that's like going gambling and saying, well, I didn't lose anything because I stuck 20 in and I walked away with 20, so I didn't lose anything. You lost an opportunity to have more. You darn well did lose something. What are you talking about? And if you give me your money and I lose it, then what? What if you come and see me and I show you an illustration of what you will have and you don't have it and you say, well, Mary Jo, you said I would have that. Oh, but don't hold me to a different standard. Because you put money in the market and it was okay to lose it because the talking heads and the noise of everybody in the world says it's okay. You didn't actually have it because you didn't cash out. Well, if you needed to cash out to have it, is that not the same as gambling? And so you want to retire. Most people are not going to work forever. They are not going to share my view and Nelson's view. I don't plan to quit. Do I plan to maybe slow down and not work so hard? Yes, but I don't plan to quit. So I know that I'm going to need that money. So you're gambling with your retirement because you don't actually have it unless you cash out. Think about that. I just gotta shake my head. I mean, what else do you do? People that love the stock market, you can love it, whatever, but you're gonna lose money in it. And then don't hold infinite banking to a different standard. Because with infinite banking, what are we doing? We're saying, hey, you should be controlling that money. You should have guaranteed growth. You should have uninterrupted compound interest. You should have liquidity so you can go do a whole bunch of other things with your money to make more cash flow so you can retire if you want to. You can slow down if you want to. That's infinite banking. He also talks about in here that pension plans and all other such IRS qualified plans are self-destructing. Think about it, people. It's interesting, and it was always fun for me to talk to Nelson. And I love to hear his take on all of this stuff because he was 80 years old. When I met Nelson, he was about 78. And he had lived a full life and he had paid attention to all of this. And he paid attention to what the government was doing. And he paid attention to the rules that they made. And then he paid attention to the exemptions that they made. And he was watching. And it was always very interesting to me to hear him talk about those things. Because most people are not watching what is happening. Most people are not paying attention. And when we start to pay attention, we start to realize, do I really want my money in the market? Do I really want to retire? Do I retire at 65? When I look at people's retirement, when we have to scroll down to an illustration at retirement age, I go to 70 or 75 years old. I don't stop at 65 anymore. Unless they tell me to, I'm not and a lot of times I don't even go there. Because most of my clients don't talk about retirement. It just doesn't happen. They don't think that way. And so why would I stop at 65 if you're going to live to 100? So you're going to work 35 years or you're going to work 40 years to retire for 40 years? How's that going to work? With inflation at the rate that it's at now. What happens if inflation continues to go the way it's going and we are putting money in the stock market and we're losing money? We're putting money into universal variable and index life and we're losing money. How is that going to help us retire? How is that even going to help us create any cash flow? It's not. The more money we put into the market in 401ks and IRAs, that's not helping us. Employers need to start opening their eyes and say, you know what? I am going to give my employees another option besides a 401k match. If my employees want to use their money today, I will help them use their money today. I will help them create a business. I will teach them how to buy real estate. I will teach them how to create cash flow. Instead of, I will be the lazy employee or employer that just does what? Matches their 3% because that will shut them up and they will work here because that's what's best for them. Employers, if you are listening, it is equally up to you to start educating your staff. Do them a favor because nobody else is. And you are successful, that you should be helping them. You should be sharing your knowledge with those that care. Not everybody's going to care. You still might need the 401k, but there are others that are not going to agree with that. And we need to start making that shift. And as an employer, I believe it is my duty to share that. I share that with my employees. Do they care? If they care, great. If they follow what I do, great. If not, whatever. I'm going to preach it because it's important. So if you think the 401k system is great, if you think retirement is great, you need to sit back and really look at what is happening. Did we create a solution that we now need an exemption for? Are we putting our money in government hands so that they can access it? There have been bills that have not passed in Congress called the Guaranteed Retirement Account Bill that has never passed, but it gets slipped in here and there, and that is trying to confiscate 401ks. And I have not looked at it for a very long time. It has been out there for a very long time, but nonetheless, I have not looked at it to see where it's at. The last time I saw that it tried to get slipped in, Obama was president. I think they tried to slip it in during Trump's administration as well, and it did not fly. They want to freeze your 401ks. They want to create another system where they take 4% of your paycheck and put it in, and the government controls it so everybody has retirement. My friends, that is called Social Security, and it failed once. Why do we think it's going to help us again? You must pay attention to what is going on. Okay, that was a good chapter. If you guys have questions, comments, concerns, email me, MaryJo at Without the Bank. If you have not read Life Without the Bank or Becoming Your Own Banker, go to withoutthebank.com, grab those books, and start to educate yourself on what's going on. With the economy where it's at today, is this really where we want to be? Up and down, up and down, up and down. I talked to somebody last week that actually has less money in their IRA than what they put there. They have actually lost money. Well, if they cash out. Right? They didn't make anything. They actually are negative to what they put in. Just hang in there, it'll come back. What's that costing us? It's a big deal. Okay, you guys, you have a fantastic day. Thank you for tuning in. And as always, I'll see you in the next podcast.